Not all trikes are created equal. These Japanese three-wheel machines were meant to turn heads, but instead they're turning into showroom relics. From awkward designs to oversized price tags, these bikes missed the mark. And the number one spot? That one never even got off the ground. Number 7. Honda Neowing. It was designed to be a game changer. A bold, futuristic three-wheeler packed with cutting-edge technology and powered by one of the most legendary engine platforms in the motorcycle world. When Honda first showed off the Neowing, it made headlines. It had a striking stance, dual front wheels, aggressive styling, and a promise to bring sport bike-level performance into the trike segment. But despite all the buzz, it never saw full-scale production. And the few prototypes and gray market examples that do exist, they are stuck, unsold, collecting dust, because no one knows exactly who this bike was built for. At the heart of the Neowing is an 1,800 cubic centimeter flat-4 engine, the same type of platform found in Honda's Goldwing lineup. This setup was expected to deliver over 100 horsepower and 100 pound-feet of torque, impressive numbers for a trike aimed at both performance and comfort. But that kind of power, combined with the Neowing's sheer size and complex front suspension, immediately raised questions. Who was supposed to ride this thing? It was too aggressive for typical Goldwing fans and too bulky and confusing for sport bike riders. The Neowing's biggest feature was its leaning front suspension system. Honda engineered it to mimic the feeling of leaning into corners like a regular motorcycle while maintaining the stability of a three-wheeler. It was sophisticated, no doubt. The front end looked like something out of a fighter jet hangar. Double wishbones, exposed linkages, and multiple pivot points. While it delivered precision and improved cornering stability in testing, riders who did try the bike reported a very disconnected feel. It leaned, but not like a regular bike. It turned, but not with the same kind of responsiveness. And for many, it just felt odd. It also carried the weight and complexity of a machine far above its category. Riders who wanted a simple, reliable three-wheeler for long trips would have found the Neowing too advanced. And riders chasing performance already had lighter, cheaper, and more agile two-wheeled sport tourers to pick from. Add to that the fact that the Neowing didn't come with traditional touring features, no integrated storage, no passenger comforts, and no windshield. And it became clear this was not a practical alternative to the Goldwing or any other established long hauler. There's also the issue of price. While an official MSRP was never set due to its concept status, insiders estimated that if the Neowing had hit the market, it would have cost over $30,000. That would have placed it directly against Harley-Davidson's Tri-Glide and Can-Am's high-end Spider models, bikes with established fan bases, dealer support, and proven resale value. In contrast, the Neowing was a question mark. No dealer wanted to carry a product without a roadmap. No mechanic wanted to service a one-off prototype. And no average rider wanted to gamble that much money on a machine that felt like it came from a different planet. Despite Honda's engineering prowess and ambition, the Neowing is now remembered as a trike that never found its place. It had power, it had innovation, but it lacked identity. And that's a fatal flaw in a motorcycle world where every rider wants to know exactly what they're buying and why. That was the future. At least, that's what Honda thought. Now let's talk about another trike bike that is still struggling to find love. Number 6. Yamaha Tricity 300. It was introduced as a cutting-edge answer to urban congestion, compact, nimble, and packed with safety features. The Tricity 300 was Yamaha's attempt to bring three-wheel leaning technology to the masses, specifically targeting new riders, city commuters, and older riders looking for more stability. But despite its innovative engineering, this three-wheeled scooter has turned out to be one of the hardest bikes for dealerships to sell in the American market. Under the bodywork is a 292 cubic centimeter single-cylinder engine. This power plant produces 28 horsepower and 21 pound-feet of torque. That's enough for short trips around town, but not nearly enough for highway performance or long-distance comfort. For many American riders, those numbers fall short of what they expect from a machine with a starting price of $8,499. The Tricity 300 weighs in at 594 pounds, which is quite a lot considering its size and class. That bulk, combined with a modest horsepower figure, means acceleration feels sluggish. Riders who are used to the quick responsiveness of traditional scooters or who expect the fun factor of a motorcycle often find themselves disappointed. The three-wheel setup does add stability, especially at low speeds or in wet conditions, but it also adds complexity, cost, and maintenance challenges that some riders would rather avoid. One of the Tricity 300's key selling points is its leaning multi-wheel technology. This allows the two front wheels to tilt like a regular motorcycle while keeping both in contact with the road. It sounds great on paper and does provide a confidence-inspiring ride, especially for new or nervous riders. But for seasoned motorcyclists, it can feel disconnected and over-engineered. It doesn't lean like a traditional bike, nor does it feel as intuitive as a two-wheeler. The ride ends up somewhere between motorcycle and scooter, which confuses many potential buyers. Another drawback is its seating ergonomics. The seat height is 31 inches, which is relatively tall for a scooter. Combined with the wide frame and footboard, some shorter riders may struggle with maneuverability at a stop. The underseat storage is decent, and it does have practical features like a parking brake and smart key ignition. However, those aren't enough to sway most American riders looking for excitement or touring capability. The styling also doesn't help. The design is modern with angular bodywork, LED lighting, and a large front end that gives it presence. But that futuristic look doesn't appeal to cruiser fans, sport bike riders, or even traditional scooter owners. It stands out, but not always in a good way. People unfamiliar with the LMW system often mistake it for a disabled access vehicle or assume it's electric. It doesn't command the kind of respect or recognition that riders usually want from their bike. What Yamaha hoped would be a bridge between scooter safety and motorcycle freedom instead landed in a narrow, awkward middle ground. The Tricity 300 is not powerful enough for motorcycle riders and not simple or cheap enough for casual commuters. It's priced too high for new riders and styled too strangely for seasoned ones. As a result, dealerships across the country have found themselves sitting on inventory that simply won't move. From heavyweight legends to lightweight gambles, this next trike proves small isn't always simple. Number 5. Honda Gyro Canopy. This is not your average three-wheeler. It is tall, narrow, and looks more like a rolling vending cart than a traditional motorcycle. The Gyro Canopy is a unique creation from Honda, a three-wheeled utility scooter originally designed for dense urban environments in Japan. With its upright windshield, covered cockpit, and fully enclosed rear storage compartment, it was built for one purpose: efficient, short-distance delivery. Underneath the canopy sits a 149 cubic centimeter single-cylinder engine. It produces 12 horsepower and 11 pound-feet of torque. That is more than enough for weaving through Tokyo traffic or making neighborhood food deliveries, but on American streets, those numbers make it fall flat. It struggles to keep up with the flow of traffic and feels underpowered on anything other than surface roads. For riders used to cruising on open highways or winding country routes, the Gyro Canopy feels more like a golf cart than a motorcycle. It weighs in at 267 pounds and rides on 12-inch wheels, which makes it maneuverable in tight city spaces but unstable at higher speeds. The small tires and tall center of gravity do no favors when cornering, and despite the three-wheel setup, it can feel twitchy on uneven pavement. Its wheelbase is compact, but the rear box and overhead canopy make it visually bulky, drawing confused stares from just about everyone. The front end of the bike leans independently of the rear, which remains upright during turns. It's a system Honda developed to give riders the sensation of leaning into corners while still maintaining the stability of a three-wheeled frame. While it works well in tight Japanese alleyways, most American riders find the handling awkward and unintuitive. Instead of feeling nimble or planted, the Gyro Canopy often feels like a compromise between scooter and tricycle without mastering either category. Where the Gyro Canopy really stands apart, visually and mechanically, is its integrated roof and rear cargo pod. The built-in windshield and roof were designed to keep delivery riders protected from wind and rain. It even has optional side flaps that attach during bad weather. That sounds great for mail carriers or pizza shops, but it is not the kind of feature that excites American motorcycle buyers. For those seeking the freedom of the open road, a bike with a roof just feels wrong. The rear cargo box can hold a surprising amount of gear, and some versions even come with built-in cooling or heating compartments for transporting food. But again, unless you run a sushi cart or a mobile bakery, the function simply does not match the lifestyle of most riders. It is more practical than passionate, more tool than toy. And then there's the price. While used models vary depending on condition and year, new or recently imported units often carry a price tag of around $5,500. That puts it squarely in competition with entry-level motorcycles and scooters that offer far more versatility and fun per dollar. The Gyro Canopy was never meant for the American highway. It was built for the sidewalks of Tokyo, the service lanes of Osaka, and the stop-and-go delivery grind. In the United States, it's just too niche, too slow, and too strange for most buyers to take seriously. And the next one is a strange mix of scooter and space shuttle. And it never found its audience. We went deep into forums, resale listings, and showroom backlogs, so if this saves you thousands, hit subscribe and ride smarter. Number 4. Honda Gold Wing Trike. This is the heavyweight tourer that everyone recognizes, but not everyone wants in three-wheeled form. The Gold Wing has built its legacy on comfort, long-haul power, and bulletproof reliability. But when you add a trike conversion into the mix, that legacy starts to feel a little less solid. What was once a luxury machine turns into a beast of burden. Large, complex, and surprisingly hard to move off showroom floors. At the heart of this touring giant is an 1832 cubic centimeter flat 6 engine. It delivers 125 horsepower and 125 pound-feet of torque that is more than enough to handle highway speeds, heavy loads, and long-distance riding with ease. But once a conversion kit is added, often from companies like Niken, Roadsmith, or Motor Trike, the whole equation shifts. You're now looking at a machine that tips the scales well over 1,100 pounds, depending on kit configuration and extras. All that weight brings stability, but it also makes the bike incredibly intimidating for many riders. The width of the rear end increases dramatically. The turning radius expands, and maneuverability in tight spaces becomes a chore. Parking lots and side streets turn into a challenge. Despite the comfort and luxury on offer, the converted trike is simply not a plug-and-play machine for most people. Another barrier is price. A brand new Gold Wing already starts at over $25,000. Add a high-quality trike conversion kit, and you can easily push that number past $40,000. And we're not talking about custom paint or chrome options, just the basic kit to convert the bike into a three-wheeler. That price tag puts it out of reach for a lot of riders, especially those who might already be on the fence about switching from 2 wheels to 3. Then there is the complexity. The Gold Wing is already loaded with features: reverse gear, navigation systems, electronic suspension, and more. Add in a trike conversion and servicing the machine becomes a job for specialists. Not every dealership or independent shop is comfortable working on a converted unit, especially if it has components that don't match factory specifications. Riders are often forced to go back to the original conversion manufacturer for service, which isn't always nearby. It also does not help that trike conversions are not backed by full factory warranties. That means any issues related to the kit, such as axle failures, suspension problems, or braking inconsistencies, are on the rider, not the dealer. For many potential buyers, this lack of official coverage is a deal breaker. They want a turnkey product that is ready to ride, not a customized platform with potential headaches. Comfort-wise, the bike still shines. You get plush seating, wine protection, audio systems, and smooth road manners. But the core appeal of the Gold Wing, its perfect balance and smooth ride, gets altered when the third wheel enters the picture. Some riders feel that the trike rides stiffer, turns less confidently, and lacks the same road feedback that made the original bike a touring legend. For the few who want ultimate comfort with maximum road presence, it may still be a dream ride. But for everyone else, it's a heavy, high-priced gamble that's just not worth it. You thought that was weird? The next trike is pure performance. on paper at least, but the road told a different story. Number 3. Suzuki Burgman650 Trike. It was meant to be the ultimate blend of scooter comfort and three-wheel stability. The Burgman was already a heavyweight in the maxi scooter category literally and figuratively, and when converted into a trike, it promised even more confidence, especially for older riders or those looking for something easy to handle. But that promise came with problems, and today these trike conversions are struggling to find anyone willing to ride them home. At the center of this machine is a 638 cubic centimeter twin engine that puts out 55 horsepower and 44 pound-feet of torque that might be fine for a standard scooter or light touring rig, but in a trike that weighs north of 670 pounds, it starts to feel underwhelming. The automatic transmission and continuously variable belt drive make it easy to twist the throttle and go, but they also strip away the kind of control that more seasoned riders expect from a three-wheeler. The entire appeal of the Burgman Trike is comfort. It sits low to the ground with a plush wide seat and floorboard-style footrests. The handlebars are pulled back for a relaxed posture, and the tall windshield keeps the wind and bugs off your chest. But as soon as you look past the comfort, the issues start to stack up. Maneuvering this trike at low speeds is no easy task. The extended rear axle from the conversion kit makes turning awkward, especially in tight parking lots or city streets. It's wide, it's long, and for something marketed as a scooter-based trike, it handles more like a barge. Storage is solid with underseat space that can hold a full-face helmet and more, plus additional compartments up front. But storage alone doesn't sell motorcycles. Ride quality does. And here, the trike version of the Burgman starts to fall behind. The suspension, which is soft and floaty on the two-wheel version, becomes wallowy and vague on the trike. It's designed for comfort, yes, but the lack of feedback from the road turns every ride into a numb, disconnected experience. Another sticking point is style. While some might find the Burgman's flowing bodywork and oversized fairing sleek, most cruiser fans see it as bulky and overdone. It lacks the raw mechanical feel that traditional riders love. And once the trike kit is installed, the whole thing starts to look like a Franken-scooter. You get big fenders, flat wheels, and an awkward stance that doesn't really resemble a motorcycle anymore. It's functional but not inspiring. Then there's the price. A stock Burgman already comes in at $11,149, and once you add the trike conversion, often between $5,000 and $7,000 more, you're looking at a price tag that rivals full-dress touring cruisers. For that kind of money, most buyers would rather go for a proper V-twin trike or a touring bike from a brand with more three-wheel pedigree. The Burgman trike was built for comfort, ease of use, and everyday practicality. But it ended up as a machine that doesn't fully satisfy scooter fans or cruiser loyalists. It rides soft, turns wide, and feels a little too soulless for the American road. Let's crank the power up, because the next machine was supposed to dominate the trike world. Instead, it ran into a wall of hesitation. Number 2. Kawasaki Vulcan 1700 Voyager Trike. This is what happens when brute force meets the open highway. The Voyager trike takes a full-size Japanese touring cruiser and transforms it into a three-wheeled beast using aftermarket trike kits from companies like Lehman and Motor Trike. The result is big, bold, and built to swallow miles, but for many riders, it's also intimidating, expensive, and just too much machine to handle. At the heart of this conversion is a 1,752 cubic centimeter V-twin engine. It produces 75 horsepower and delivers 91 pound-feet of torque. That power plant is known for being smooth and reliable, built for long rides and heavy loads. Matched to a 6-speed transmission and a belt final drive, it has the torque needed for highway cruising and plenty of muscle to haul a passenger, luggage, and a full trike body kit. But even with all that grunt, the bike isn't light on its feet. Once converted, this trike tips the scales at over 1,100 pounds. That's a lot of steel to manage, especially at low speeds or in tight parking lots. And while the added rear axle does improve stability, it also reduces cornering ability and increases the turning radius. For older riders or those used to two-wheel agility, it can feel more like piloting a car than riding a motorcycle. The added width also makes navigating narrow roads and tight traffic lanes more challenging, especially for riders unfamiliar with trike dynamics. Comfort was clearly part of the original Voyager's mission. This machine comes loaded with amenities like cruise control, an audio system, floorboards, a large touring seat, and full fairing protection. Riders sit back in a relaxed position, shielded by a tall windshield and surrounded by integrated storage. But all those comfort features and the trike kit itself push the price into luxury territory. In most cases, once the conversion is complete, this setup easily crosses the $30,000 mark. And that's before tax, license, and additional options like upgraded wheels, custom paint, or air ride suspension. The styling is unmistakably big and classic, with chrome accents, large saddlebags, and a wide rear stance. From a distance, it looks like it belongs next to Harley-Davidson's Tri-Glide or the Road Glide CVO. But among cruiser traditionalists, Japanese trikes still struggle to get respect. They're seen as practical, yes, but not as cool or collectible, and that perception plays a huge role in why these bikes are harder to sell, especially used. Another factor that hurts resale and dealer interest is the limited availability of factory support. Since these are converted trikes and not built in-house by Kawasaki, the burden falls on third-party manufacturers for parts, warranty, and service. That makes maintenance more complicated, especially in smaller towns where certified shops might not be familiar with the trike kit brand used on a particular unit. Buyers have to hunt for specific support or rely on the original installer, which is a deal breaker for many. Despite the power, comfort, and touring capability, this trike simply doesn't fly off showroom floors. It's too much machine for casual riders and too far removed from American tradition to win over die-hard V-twin loyalists. It has presence, it has power, but it doesn't have the pull. But the number one spot goes to a trike that was actually sold here, and still nobody wanted it. Number 1. Yamaha Niken GT. This machine was built to be a revolution. It had the engine of a proven street fighter, the comfort of a grand tourer, and a front suspension system that looked more like it belonged on a fighter jet than a motorcycle. The Niken GT promised something no other sport touring trike ever had, a true lean-in experience on 3 wheels. But as bold as the concept was, the reality of this machine left most riders confused, and dealerships are still sitting on unsold inventory years after it launched. At the heart of the Niken GT is an 898 cubic centimeter triple-cylinder engine. It produces 115 horsepower and 64 pound-feet of torque. These are solid numbers for a sport touring platform, especially paired with Yamaha's advanced electronics package and adjustable suspension. On paper, the Niken GT should have offered thrilling acceleration and responsive handling across long-distance rides. But in practice, the extra bulk added by its unique dual front wheel system brought weight and complexity that many riders just did not want to deal with. Tipping the scales at 678 pounds, this trike is heavy for its class. The extra weight is mostly centered in the front end, where 2 25-inch wheels are mounted on parallel fork legs with independent suspension arms. This setup allows the front wheels to lean in unison, mimicking the behavior of a traditional motorcycle while offering more front-end grip and stability. It sounds innovative, and it is, but the end result is a front-heavy ride that feels awkward at low speeds and strange in parking lots. The price tag only made things worse. With a starting price of $16,499, the Niken GT was more expensive than most other middleweight touring bikes. That price put it in direct competition with lighter, faster, and more familiar options. Riders who were used to the simplicity of traditional bikes were turned off by the Niken GT's complexity. Cruiser fans didn't want a leaning trike, and sport bike fans weren't interested in one either. The design also raised eyebrows. With a wide, aggressive front end and a narrow rear profile, the Niken GT looks unlike anything else on the road. Some riders loved the futuristic styling, but many simply found it odd. The lack of a third rear wheel also led to confusion. Many didn't even consider it a true trike. It straddled the line between categories, and that made it a tough sell to nearly every kind of buyer. Yamaha equipped the Niken GT with premium features like heated grips, a tall windscreen, integrated luggage options, and multiple ride modes. It is a capable machine with real touring chops. But despite all of this, it never gained traction with the mainstream motorcycle crowd. The unique front end required a learning curve that most riders didn't want to deal with, and the added weight took away from the nimble character the engine was known for in other models. In the end, the Niken GT was a bold move that never quite landed. It had performance, it had innovation, and it had Yamaha's rock-solid engineering, but it missed the mark on rider appeal, simplicity, and value. Now it remains one of the most talked about and least purchased Japanese trikes in recent memory. It had the power, it had the tech, but it never had buyers. Which one of these trikes would you actually take for a spin, or do they all belong in a museum? Drop your pick in the comments, and if you love deep-cut motorcycle stories, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.